Hi everybody, this is Chaya Parkoff, licensed clinical social worker, and I am an educator at the Jewish Experience in Denver, Colorado. And it is Friday, January 12th, 2023. It's the 12th of the month of Shvat in the year 5783. And this week's Parsha is Parsha BESHALACH. And I'd like to share these words, hopefully of inspiration, in memory of a dear friend of the Denver community. A couple of years ago, she and her husband and 3 children, they moved to Silver Spring, Maryland, where they became very part of that community, although she's still very much part of the Denver community. Anyway, she was taken from us this week on Wednesday morning, after battling illness many times. And what a special person Nikki Toys was, and hopefully these words of inspiration will be a merit for her soul to go up and to go up and to go up, closer and closer and closer to the Holy One, the Almighty God. And hopefully they will bring some inspiration to you, and perhaps you'll pass it on, and all of that should be in her merit. So in this week's Parsha, it's kind of dramatic. The Israelites, they're not yet the Jews, because we haven't yet had the Mount Sinai experience, but we're getting close to that. So the Israelites are up against a wall, or more literally up against a sea. God demonstrated total power via the plagues, and after all that, you might expect that the Israelites would have no problem trusting God in the process. However, we learn from the Talmud and Midrash Rabbah that when faced with the Egyptians on their tail and Moshe's command to enter the sea, the tribes weren't so willing to go. No one was really willing to go in first. No one was willing to take the plunge. I mean, after all, if you think about it, how would they know that God would really protect them if they're going into this vast sea? And then steps up from the tribe of Yehuda, tribe of Judah, Nachshon ben Aminadav. Nachshon, the son of Aminadav. He steps forward, he steps into the sea, and then, once he's already in, then the sea split and the others followed. Before the sea would split, someone needed to take the step. Someone needed to take that first step. Nachshon ben Aminadav demonstrated emunah and bitachon. Emunah is usually translated as faith. Sometimes people think that means that's blind faith. That is not Jewish concept, blind faith. But emunah is faith. Bitachon is usually translated as trust. However, the more accurate translation is really security. There's a difference between trust and security. Trust, by definition, is more vague, and security is way more exact. So having emunah and bitachon, faith and trust, let me give you a metaphor. It's the difference between watching a tightrope walker walk across the tightrope, holding on to a wheelbarrow, and, thinking, okay, he'll get across, versus getting in the wheelbarrow. It's the difference between waiting for the sea to split before walking in, even though sure death was upon them if they didn't do anything. So it's the difference between walking into the sea before it split, and walking in after it split, and walking in before it, right? Waiting for it to split and then saying, okay, now I'll go in, as opposed to going in and then trusting it would split. This is what Nachshon ben Aminadav demonstrated. He got in the proverbial wheelbarrow. On a side note, I love the holy language of Hebrew, and here's like a little cool thing that I know about, that I once heard, and it's such a beautiful demonstration of how the Hebrew language is really so profound. So Aminadav is a combination of two words, Ami, which is my people, and Nadav, which is volunteer. My people, the volunteers. Nachshon ben Aminadav volunteered to go into the sea before it split. Hence its root, Nadav, is the same root as the Hebrew word for volunteer. So often in life, we're up against a sea that has not yet split. It's precisely at these times that we must harness our spiritual DNA that was set in full motion by Nachshon ben Aminadav at the sea. It's precisely at those times that we have to get in our proverbial wheelbarrow, knowing that God has a plan and that the plan is ultimately for good. When I was thinking about Nikki, I was thinking many different things. She was just an amazing role model of a mother, of just a friend, of a community member. Her and her husband Aaron always were doing things for the community. They own Haagen-Dazs in Cherry Creek Mall, and they would, any celebration, or they would just donate. They would donate ice cream. What a wonderful thing. Plus, so many behind the scenes things that she would do for the community. I remember when I was getting my master's and I had to write a paper on human trafficking, and she helped me in so many ways. We discussed, she grew up in South Africa, and what she saw and how it affected her so much, seeing the injustice that was done, and her no tolerance for that, as it should be, that no tolerance for injustice of human beings. And her emunah b'tachon, she fought illness several times, and yet she always maintained this really incredible attitude, stepped up to being a mom and a community member and a beloved wife to her husband, and she will really be missed. She was definitely what we would call a volunteer, always trying to help, be of service, whether it was out in the front, but most likely in the background. Nikki was an amazing person, demonstrated tremendous emunah and bitachon, and we are in the wheelbarrow right now. Those of us, her family, my heart is so tearing apart for them, and really the whole community and all of Klal Yisrael. She touched so many people. And but we're in the wheelbarrow right now, trusting that there is a bigger plan here. When I heard the news on Wednesday morning, I thought, after my initial devastation, I was holding the space for, I found myself incredibly mad at God, and at the same time totally trusting that there is a bigger plan. In the wheelbarrow. And that's what's holding, I think, her family together, what's holding the community together, what's really holding anyone together who is going through challenging times. That it's precisely at this time that we harness that spiritual DNA that Nachshon ben Aminadav set in motion for us so many years ago, and that spiritual DNA that is still in each and every one of us. And may her memory, Nikki Toys, be for only a blessing, and may God and all of us comfort her family and be comforted as well. Shabbat Shalom.